Hey everybody, David here, and today I want to do a top 10 video. I have been watching some Disneyland videos recently for the last 2 weeks because it's been a long time since I was last there. As a matter of fact, the last time I was in Disney World, Florida, was back in 2004. That was the one that I've always been to since I was a kid. I've been there not too many times, but maybe four, five, 6 times in my lifetime. And then I went to Disneyland in California once. So I went to the one in Florida a couple of times, and then Disneyland California once in 2010. So that was probably the last time I was at a Disney theme park. And recently I was going online looking at like why don't we have one in Toronto or in Canada in general? Because I would go there almost every week if I could. If I could, I would get the season pass like some people in California and Florida do, and I would be there almost every week. Because I really do love their theme parks and how creative they are there and how they immerse you into these worlds that they create with these rides. And there's some roller coaster rides, but I'll be honest, I'm not the biggest roller coaster fan. But the kind of rides that Disney does like blows my mind sometimes. That those are the type of rides I love. And these are 10 rides that I feel if this Disneyland Toronto, which I read online, a couple of articles back in 2018, they announced it. And there were even quotes from Bob Iger and Mayor John Tory, who is the mayor of Toronto. They were going on how they were, Disney was bringing Disney was bringing Disneyland to Toronto on Toronto Islands. And this is great news, except the problem is they're going to start production, apparently in the article from 2018. It says they're going to start production in 2022 and it will be done by 2028. And I said, man, I'm going to be in my mid-40s by that point. I need this now. Why didn't this come when I was in my 20s? So for whatever reason, look, I don't care. What is it's going to be. At least we're getting it. Whatever. I'll be in my mid-40s going to Disneyland, even if I have to go by myself. So hopefully we'll see what happens. Maybe I can find a girlfriend eventually down the road, and who knows, get married, have kids, and then I'll have kids to bring to Disney World of my own. But until then, I'm unfortunately going to have to be a single guy going to Disneyland. Maybe I can convince some family members, but we'll see. Let us begin. These are 10 rides or attractions that I think Disneyland Toronto is going to need. If this is true, which it looks like it is, these are 10 rides from other theme parks that I think Disneyland Toronto is going to need. Disneyland, of course, when they make a theme park in another country like Disneyland Paris or Disneyland Tokyo or Hong Kong, usually they do put some new and exclusive rides to that city or country. Like the Ratatouille ride originally came from Disneyland Paris. They did put it in Epcot Center too. If it translates, they'll bring it. One of the Disneylands, I think it's Disneyland Tokyo, has a Tron ride, which looks really cool. I've been watching all these rides online. And I know one of the theme parks also has a Monsters, Inc. ride, which seems really cool. So these are 10 rides or attractions that I think Disneyland Toronto is going to need. So let's get started. Starting with the first one on my list, I have Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. This is a ride I saw online. This one's at Hollywood Studios. Obviously in 2004 when I went to Hollywood Studios in Florida, they didn't have this ride yet. This was the Chinese theater, I believe, where the Chinese theater is in Hollywood Studios, Florida. It used to be called MGM Studios, but then changed the name to Hollywood Studios. And they used to have the Great Movie Ride in this section of the park, from my understanding. And that ride I remember going on. But they replaced it with this ride, Mickey and Minnie's railway, and I love the virtual technology that they mix into this ride, that I'm like, man, I need to try this ride. And I don't know the next time I'm going to go to Florida. So if I can't go to Florida in the next couple years, hopefully Disneyland Toronto will put it here, because that ride looks pretty cool. Not just for me, of course, for the kids too. I'm also thinking about the kids for Disneyland Toronto. So who knows? I think it would be cool. Another ride that I think that I have on my list here is the Nemai River Journey. The Nemai are from hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. It's been a while since I watched Avatar. It's the Avatar ride in the Animal Kingdom. I love this ride, but I don't know if they'll do it, because do you need to go under the tree? I think this one at the Animal Kingdom. I've never been to Animal Kingdom, first of all. It's the last theme park in in Florida that I haven't been to yet, that I need to check out. And the Nemai River journey looks really cool. It takes you into the world of Avatar, and yeah, it's just one of those rides that, man, I'm so sad that I haven't seen it yet. Next up, Splash Mountain. Yes, I'm putting in some sort of roller coaster here. This isn't the roller coaster. This is one of those water rides. It does look fun and cool, even though the drop would scare the shit out of me. I would still go on it, just because it does look cool. So that's why it's on here. And I think we need some water rides in our park too. I know Canada's Wonderland has some water rides, so I think Disneyland Canada or Toronto should have that as well. Next up, I have Space Mountain. I don't know if I do this ride, but I think it needs to be here because people love roller coasters. I might not be the biggest roller coaster fan, but if you are going to put one, Space Mountain is apparently the most popular roller coasters in the world, from what I heard. So if you're gonna put one, maybe I'll if it's in Toronto, maybe I'll take that leap and go on it, even though I'll probably shit my pants by the end of it. Next up, Indiana Jones Adventure. Now, for those of you that have only gone to Hollywood Studios in Florida, that one has the attraction where it's like Indiana Jones, you're watching the stunt show happen. That's not what this ride is. When I went down to Disneyland in California in 2010, they had this actual Indiana Jones ride, which was amazing. And I said, why doesn't Florida have this one? They had the stunt show. They didn't have this one. I would have preferred this ride. The stunt show is cool in Florida, but I'm like, no, this is the thing that should be in Florida. This is a ride. This is awesome. This is fun. They make you feel like it's like kind of like the Temple of Doom in a way, but you're going in the cart and it's like taking you into this crazy, Egyptian tunnel or whatever. I thought it was a lot of fun, and I only rode it once, but if it's in Toronto, you can be sure that I'll be on that ride more than once. Another ride that I would love in Disneyland Toronto is Remy's Ratatouille Adventure. This one, obviously, I mentioned earlier, is in Paris, and then they brought it over to Epcot Center. Obviously in the Paris section of the park. And you know what? We have Quebec in Canada, right? And Montreal, where, our second language in Canada, in the US, your second language is Spanish, from my understanding. In Canada, our second language is French. So obviously there's some sort of French connection there, right? So Remy's Ratatouille Adventure, which looks amazing, and I really want to try this ride out. That's a ride I think should be in Disneyland Toronto. Our second language is French. I mean, we have the excuse to have it in here, even though that movie takes place in France. We can always pretend it's Quebec, so it's the same thing. Moving on. The Haunted Mansion. The Haunted Mansion is a staple of the Disneyland theme parks. I think most of the parks around the world have it, and I think if we're gonna have a Disneyland Toronto, I think you gotta put the Haunted Mansion in in Disneyland Toronto. I think it just makes sense. If you're gonna put some staples, I know there's a lot of kiddie rides that will, like, I wouldn't doubt if A Small World After All gets down here, or if Peter Pan's Flight, or whatever other kiddie rides there are. The Haunted Mansion is one that's good for all ages, I think, and one that I would like to see in the park, guaranteed. Out of all the staple rides from those parks. Next up, I have another staple ride, Pirates of the Caribbean. I know Toronto is probably not very Caribbean-like, but I want a Pirates of the Caribbean ride in Toronto. I mean, come on, man. You gotta. I know we don't have a lot of sand, which will make Anakin Skywalker happy. But I think the Pirates of the Caribbean ride that I've seen in Florida and in California, I think it would be cool to have it here too. I mean, I'm sure pirates have raided Canada at some point. I mean, technically, if you want to get real, I think everybody that traveled to North America and South America back in the 1800s, I think all of us were kind of like pirates in a way. So feel guilty if that makes you. You should feel guilty about that. But yeah, Pirates of the Caribbean. I hope I don't get in trouble for that joke. But let's move on. Another place that I would like to see here, if it's not the ride, hopefully the whole place would be cool too. Cars Land. I have seen countless pictures and stuff of Cars Land. I'm like, look, Cars isn't my top 5 favorite Pixar movie. Maybe my top 10. I don't know. The first Cars, anyways. The second Cars, definitely one of the weaker Pixar films of all time. The third Cars, better than the second film, still not as good as the first one, so probably doesn't make my top 10. But Cars 1 is great, and just seeing how they recreated the world of Cars in this land is like, that will make me want to visit it alone. Even if you are not a Cars fan, I do not see how you cannot be curious at checking this land out. I know it's in California Adventure. It makes sense in California Adventure because I think Route 66 is a actual road that's like in California, I believe. I could be wrong about that. Maybe I'm getting my facts mixed up. But there is a specific ride in that land that if they don't bring the whole land to Toronto, I would at least like that one ride where you get to go on the car and it takes you around Radiator Springs. I think that ride looks awesome, and the way they do the virtual eyes on the cars and everything looks cool. So I don't know. If they can, it would be cool. Finally, I didn't know which one to put first, so I just put these two together to make it a top 10. I put Galaxy's Edge and Avengers Campus, which comes out in California Adventure in this June 4th, which is literally around the corner almost. So yes, Galaxy's Edge, obviously Star Wars Land, if you want to call it that, and Avengers Campus, Marvel. I couldn't choose between Marvel and Star Wars. For some people, they can choose. I'm the one that, like, I love them both. So I don't even know which one I would choose. Galaxy's Edge looks amazing. I saw somebody on YouTube talking about Avengers Campus, and the attractions and rides that they're talking about for that land looks really great too. I can't wait to see the full experience when people start putting up YouTube videos of that land, because man, it looks fun. And how they're already incorporating the Marvel and Star Wars characters in their California parks already, and I think Disneyland Paris is already having those characters pop up there. Yeah, I mean, I need to experience both of those lands. Me and my brothers were supposed to go to Galaxy's Edge last year, but we never got the chance to because the pandemic hit. We were literally planning it before the pandemic hit, and then it hit, and we were like, shit, man. Now we're never going to be able to do it. Well, maybe we will. Who knows? But Avengers Campus, yeah, that's another one that I would love to see. I love what they're doing over there, or what I'm hearing about anyways. There's going to be a Spider-Man ride, and then there's going to be another ride which will be Avengers centric, but that one's not going to open until later on. So it all sounds great. So I think those two definitely, I would love to see them here in Toronto Disneyland, or Disneyland Toronto, or whatever they're going to call it. I think they're calling it the Disneyland Resort in Toronto. So whatever, that's usually what they call them, right? Disneyland in Paris, Disneyland Tokyo, Disneyland Toronto. So that, guys, that's it. That's my list. Tell me if you are in Canada. Doesn't matter what part of Canada. You can live in Vancouver, you can live in Quebec, Montreal, whatever. If you are a fan of Disneyland, which I know there's a lot of Disneyland fans out there, I've seen a lot of them in the YouTube comments on other YouTube channels. What rides would you like to see in Disneyland Toronto Resort? So comment below and let me know. This is for my fellow Canadians out there. And if you're an American or someone else, comment below too about some really cool rides that are at the park that I didn't mention. Maybe you do like It's a Small World, or maybe there's a ride or an attraction, maybe even a show that I should have mentioned. You know, I didn't mention any of the shows that they have in a lot of the parks as well. Some of the shows are pretty good. Tower of Terror is a good one. I didn't talk about the Guardians of the Galaxy ride or Resistance because I just combined them with Galaxy's Edge and Avengers Campus. I just, give me it all. Anything Marvel and Star Wars, throw it into Disneyland Toronto. Those are the two lands I hope that they include. So with that being said, guys, like this video, please subscribe to my channel, and until next time, take care.